All right, it is 5 o'clock. So we want to stay on time and make sure we're continuing on. Thank you all for the questions. I did try and answer them in the chat. And also there will be an exit ticket at the end for you to share any additional questions or thoughts on the session. As a reminder, everything's being recorded, so you can go back and look at it later if you need to as well. But sharing my screen here. So yes, that was the intro to the BDL case and looking at the evidence packet. Again, those the four corners activity and the evidence packet scavenger hunt are ones that we want you to do, with your students if you have the time. And the watching the video and doing a four corners is more like without the evidence packet, you can just get them thinking about the topic and debating about it. That's a good way to avoid them being sort of scared of the size of the evidence packet, as Sophia mentioned in the comments. And to answer that question a little bit more directly, I think that it's always good for new debaters to not make them feel like they need to know every single thing in the evidence packet, but even just knowing a couple pages on both sides, they can be confident going into debates. We're also going to record our debate academy next week, so everyone who can come live, that's great. You'll be able to ask questions in the audience. But if you're not able to come with your debate team next week, that's okay too, because we'll record the example debate round and share it with all coaches. So another thing you could do for nervous new debaters is be like, hey, BDL staff and alums recorded an example debate on this topic. Let's watch it and see what they say about it. And then the other question that we got in the chat was about the difference between what the affirmative team is advocating for, if they're advocating for more green hydrogen or more mining of the sort of pure hydrogen. The answer is both. The affirmative team is arguing that we should increase the hydrogen infrastructure in general. What that means is things like mining and green hydrogen production, and also things that store and transport hydrogen. So it's the whole advocating for it as a fuel source. Now, that probably would not hold water at like the varsity national circuit competitive level of debate, because they would ask you to get very specific with your plan. But for our novices and even our JV debaters, we think that it is, vague enough to allow debaters some flexibility and go where they want with it. And if they're ready to make arguments about why specifically certain parts of hydrogen production might not be as good or as bad, then move them up to a higher division where they are ready to, other people will be able to respond to those arguments pretty well. We're going to now switch over into role and responsibilities of being a coach. So instead of looking at the case, we're going to look at what we're asking you to do specifically as a coach. This is mainly targeted at our newer coaches, whether it's your first year coaching or relatively new in your career. Also, if you're an experienced returning coach at any time, please feel free to throw some additional tips and tricks in here. We're always looking to get whatever works from you returning coaches into the minds and tool bags of our new coaches. So please share. Yes. All right. Coach role overview, an overview of debate season. So there are a number of major responsibilities in terms of being a coach. Number one, we want you to recruit students to join the team. This one may seem obvious, but it is important, and you have a number of resources at your disposal to make this work. Shout out to Boston Green Academy. I was just there yesterday at their activity fair. A lot of schools do activity fairs where they get students to sign up. A number of other ways to recruit students include posting flyers and posters around the school, having an admin at your school send emails home to parents and families, going around from class to class, especially at like homeroom times, and advertising about the debate team, doing personal invites to the debate team from teachers or other stakeholders who might know students who they'd recommend for the team. There's a whole list of great recruitment ideas, and they're in our coaching resources and recruitment resources folder. We also have 2 new videos this year, one about why do you like Boston Debate League in English, and another about why to do debate in Spanish. So those are brand new, both on our YouTube, both only 80 seconds long. So they're excellent for that first debate practice or kickoff info session that you might have with students because they get to the point pretty quickly. And we highly recommend them. Any questions about recruiting students that you want to ask right now, or any returning coaches want to share any particularly wise words of what has worked well for you in the past?
I think you should have food, and I think you should have the all join like at the same time. I know that middle schoolers, like whatever their friends want to do after school, they want to do it too. And so I think recruiting debaters is really fun because I think a lot of people just want to spend time with their friends after school. And I think the fact that yap during class, they could yap like after school with um each
Perfect.
other and like learn
Yes.
new things. Today,
Oh, sorry. Sorry, it cut out for me a little bit, but I'll just recap it very quickly. So yes, food, highly recommend. If you're a new debate coach as well, this is a reminder that Boston Debate League gives you a team budget for your school to help get food at your practices. And the second piece that you mentioned was about getting new students to all come at the same time. I think having a kickoff event where students don't feel like they're the only new person, that can be really helpful. If you have a bunch of new kids, they feel a little bit less intimidated. And then the third thing you mentioned was, get them and their friends, like all excited about, they like to talk to each other during class. Come talk together, come as a friend group to the debate team as well, and you can build community there. I think we've seen a lot of really great community building and friendships built through debate. Yeah. Thank you, Annie. Any other tips or questions around recruiting? All right, great. We'll continue on. Major responsibility number 2 is facilitating debate practices weekly. So again, we linked our coach resources folder here as well. We have debate lessons that are the same in English and Spanish. These are mostly targeted at novices because generally speaking, the lessons that you do with your entire debate team will be novice focused. And then you can kind of scaffold them up for JV and varsity debaters. But the lessons that we've designed are ones that can be done with every single debater in your group. And the overlap between English and Spanish is good. So if you wanted to have them in the same room doing the same activity of practice, we have the same resources, same slides, same handouts, that kind of thing. And we don't update these too much year to year. So if you are a returning coach, our welcome to debate practice lesson is the same as it was last year with just some minor tweaks about the current year's topic. Great. Any questions about planning or running practices? Awesome. So I will add one more plug, which is that we'll come back to this in a second, but every school on here has a program manager from the Boston Debate League, a staff member assigned to your school. So I highly recommend if you're at all stuck on what to do at a practice, email us, text us, and say, hey, any suggestions on practice this week? You can also look at our weekly emails that have practice suggestions that are meant to be what sort of the debate teams we expect where the point you should be at this point in the year. And we're here to help, right? So please reach out to us. That's our job, is to help you. And no amount of questions is too many questions. We want to help you plan. We are glad to come and visit your practices. We want to help make sure your practices are successful. All right, major coach responsibility number 3. So bring your team to tournaments/BDL events. I'm going to put the calendar link. Actually, Douglas, can you do this for me? Can you put the calendar link in the chat? Thank you. The events the way we run this, unlike other debate sort of organizations where there are just a million tournaments and they're hosted by different schools and like people sort of opt into the ones that they want to go to, we really strongly ask that you attend every one of our events for the level of team that you're at. So At the high school level, that's 5 tournaments. At the middle school level, that's 1 scrimmage and 4 tournaments. The scrimmage is a little bit more optional. So the idea is that we want you to come to all of these because that gives your debaters enough of an opportunity to become engaged during the debate season. We offer a volume of tournaments that we feel is appropriately sustainable for coaches, but then also is allowing students enough time to learn and grow. And that's sort of research backed that participating at a certain amount of debate tournaments does have real academic benefits. So that's why we're at the volume that we're at. Anyway, all right. There's something weird happening with my box. Oh, that's Douglas. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so again, just running through this calendar very quickly. The new Coach Crash courses today. On October 3rd, I'm going to go through just the fall events for now. October 3rd is Debate Academy. That's online from 1 to 3 p.m. At that, we will do an example debate round. We'll do a team building activity. We will do a evidence packet activity to help students learn the evidence packet. And then we'll do a Kahoot to just give out some prizes for people who, kind of learn the most about the topic during that session. The way this typically works is if you can manage it, to find a classroom at your school that is not being used at that time, or the library, or anywhere really, maybe the admin team is willing to go to their conference room. Anything works. And you can either have students join on their own individual computers if your school has a lot of Chromebooks, for example, or you can set up like one computer in the front of the room and join our Zoom that way. So again, this is not in person. We will not be in person anywhere. This is only on Zoom. And then we will record the entire thing as well. So if your school can just come for a portion of it, maybe only the first half, maybe only the second half, we will record everything. You can do these activities later with your students at debate practices as well. And that's where we're going to have the example debate rounds that I mentioned earlier. If you are able to attend at this time as well, BDL will, outside of your team budget, we will pay for pizza or some other similar, equivalent price food for your team for the number of students who are participating. So if you're like, I have 10 kids who are going to join this, we'll pay for pizza for 10 kids to be delivered to your school.
Roger, could I ask a question in terms of, do you, how have folks been successful in getting kids out of class to do this? So do you approach the principal? Do you ask the parents to individually ask teachers? What's the best approach?
Yeah, so with this and with the other events where there may require getting out of school early to get to a tournament, for example, or miss school entirely, as Sophia is asking about, the way that I strongly recommend doing that is go to the principal first and say, Boston Debate League is running this event. It is during the school day. It's an academic field trip, essentially, even though it's going to be happening for this first one, for example, online from the school. We call it a field trip. Can our students do a field trip form, have it signed by the parents, and then get approved to miss their classes? Your program manager, so myself, Douglas, Joshua, Rayner, have done this with a lot of administrators, and we're very glad to step in and give reasons why the students should be allowed to miss school for this, and also help with the logistics of that. If you need help designing a permission slip or whatever it is to be able to get students approved to attend, we can handle that on a case-by-case basis at your school. But definitely go to the principal first.
Can I raise a question here too? Because
yes,
like my first obligation are to the academic classes I do teach.
Yes.
So this is actually a tough question for me to miss a day of instruction.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's like okay with me, not even like my admin.
Sure.
I'm not really sure what to do with that. Are they all mandatory, the tournaments?
Yeah, so this is a great question. And so for the very short answer is no. We would love for you to be able to come to every tournament. We do recognize that especially the things that we do during the school day are difficult for some schools to attend. The flip side, of course, is that we have some students that we've, interact with who are never able to do things outside of school, whether it's, for family obligations or work or other things like that. So we do occasionally try and provide opportunities during the school day so those students don't have to miss any of their other obligations. That being said, in specific cases where like a teacher would have to miss a day of school, like on December 19th for the field trip tournament, we've done that the last 2 years with the middle school. The sorts of things that coaches have done is, maybe one coach attends the tournament and the other one stays at school that day. We've also been successful in working with schools to identify, a family member chaperone of one of the students who might be able to, we can give all the resources that a chaperone who's not the coach would need to be able to effectively chaperone students at a tournament for all or part of a day as well. So we definitely would only want to do what your school and you individually are comfortable with, but we're glad to help you figure out what might make sense for your team. And we've tried a little bit of everything in the past with a bunch of different schools. So we're glad to offer some suggestions too. And yes, Annie, I want to make sure I understand the third event, Zoom. So yes, so the October 3rd is a Zoom from 1 to 3 p.m. During the school days. Only the Debate Academy, and the same as January 7th, those are only online. They will not be in person at all. It's just a chance to learn about the case, and the January one will be to learn about the second case that we're going to be debating. All the other events, the tournaments, and the kickoff angel debate on the 17th will be in person. So those are all live and in person. It's just the Debate Academies that are on Zoom.
This is for educators and students.
Just for students. Yeah, so the Debate Academies are just for students. You can come as the coach, of course, but we're going to be, BDL staff will be running activities with the students directly on Zoom. So if a coach can make it, great. But if it's just like, a random member of the school staff that is able to sit with the students, that's totally fine as well, because as long as they're on the computer, we will engage them and give them directions as to what they should be doing.
Okay, October 3rd and January 7th are the only two.
Yeah.
Roger, is this in
ahead.
addition to regular practice that week? What do you suggest?
So that's totally up to you. You could use it to replace practice that week. I know it's certainly, 2 hours of practice is about, the average, or even maybe slightly longer than the average practice a lot of schools do. So it certainly could replace practice, but if you want to do this in addition to practice, that's fine as well. Yeah. And another option would be, again, if you can't attend the Debate Academy. Yep, go ahead. Question.
Sorry, I didn't see, I don't think I've seen it listed in of the facilitating ability. I think from last year it was once a week, but I'm not sure. I just want to make sure that I have the expectations right for the coaches. Yeah,
so our suggestion, going back to the practices, is for weekly debate practice, we recommend, 90 minutes to 2 hours of practice per week. Some weeks or some school schedule, it's only possible to do an hour of practice per week. I know other schools have practiced, upwards of 3 or 4 hours a week. Really, it's all about what works for your school, but we feel like 90 minutes to 2 hours per week is the average and is enough to prepare the students effectively for the tournaments. Now, is that the most you could possibly practice? No. Is it the least you could possibly practice? Also no. But that's the average.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on the calendar before I go on to the last section of this? Great. Okay. And just to jump ahead a second, there is an example tournament schedule coming up actually in the next section. I apologize. That's in part 4 today, but it's coming up. So if you're trying to figure out what does a tournament look like from start to finish, that will be coming a little later. And then finally, coach responsibility number 4, building team culture. So you've already recruited students, you're planning weekly practices, you're trying to get them to all the tournaments. And then the last thing that you're trying to do that's really your major responsibility is build some team culture. So one of the things we want to point out in terms of resources to help build team culture is this team budget that you have. Teams will use this in all sorts of ways to get students to stay in the room and get excited about debate. Maybe it's you want to have snacks at practice every single week. You can do that with the team budget. Maybe it's, once or twice a month, you want to have pizza. You could do that. Maybe it's we're going to go on a field trip at the end of the year for every student who comes to at least 3 tournaments. We're not going to do any snacks the whole year, but we're going to give that field trip as an incentive. We've had students go to places like Bodeborg and Malden, Level 99, and Natick, Chez Vous to do roller skating, all sorts of different things for field trips that are a lot of fun. We've also seen teams do like team dinners that, they'll order special food the day before a tournament for some extra practice and do like a, dinner like right after school to get students more excited about the tournament the next day. And of course, the number one thing that we see all the time is team sweatshirts, or t-shirts. BDL can help you organize any of these things. We can help. We have a lot of good connections with the merchandise. And yeah, so building team culture is not just about snacks and sweatshirts, but that is a decent part of it. And this is a big resource that you have to help. It really helps the debaters feel like, either their needs are getting met with the snacks, so they're just able to focus on what's going on in practice, or they're a little bit more excited about showing up. The other piece is if you have, a team t-shirt or sweatshirt, you just have like it's a fun thing to be able to go to a tournament with. Like when you're walking around school, you can be like, yeah, like I'm on the debate team. My friend's on the debate team. We're in this together. And when you show up at the tournaments, that can also help, get you feeling more confident because you're part of a larger thing. Yeah, and then we also offer some additional outreach and resources, family postcards, posters to go around the school, and we can help with, other practices. There are a whole bunch of things that coaches do to help build team culture as well. One of the other ones that I didn't put on the slide, but I highly recommend once you get into it a little bit, is identifying some student leadership roles. Maybe it's someone who is going to be your attendance taker at practice, right? Maybe it's someone who's going to put together info about the tournament to send home to parents. Maybe it is someone who is has been debating for a little while and is going to teach a lesson occasionally to the rest of the students on the team about rebuttals or cross-examination or something like that. Get your students involved as leaders, and we can help you figure out kind of what roles to fill with that as well. I got a question in the chat. How do we access the team budget? This one is pretty straightforward. We under $100, we ask you to spend that money yourself and then send us the receipt. We reimburse you directly. Any coach who we do pay a reimbursement to will need to fill out a W-9 because we're a 501c3 nonprofit. And if it's over $100, let us know in advance of the expense, especially like big sweatshirt orders, for example, because then we can pay that directly. And that'll make your life a little easier, avoid the reimbursement process. In terms of knowing how much money you have in the team budget, every team starts with $400 and it won't go less than that, no matter how many kids are on the debate team. But we give you $50 per student. So 400 gets you at least 8 students. And then once you get past that, if you get to 9, 10, 11, 12, we add $50 to your team budget as the students make it to at least 20 hours of debate. So that's engagement. And there's a little bit of a complex formula, but we also allow you to project out in advance. So if you have like 20 students show up to the first tournament, for example, we would give you a budget of roughly $1,000 to use for the season, something like that. Yeah. All right, I'm going to pause there. Any questions on any of the major coach responsibilities? Anything that I might have missed? Okay, great. I will share.
Can you
Sam.
discuss the aspect of engaged debaters in terms of funding and if that plays into it regarding team budgets?
Yes, yes. So the way it works is we give you $50 per debater per engaged debater. An engaged debater is someone who comes to at least 20 hours of BDL programming. So it doesn't count the practices, but it does count the debate academies, the scrimmages, if they come and judge, if they debate at any tournaments, if they come to our summer camp, for example, all that counts towards engagement with the BDL. And we will share after every event a list, an ongoing list of how many hours of engagement each student has. So we assume for and give everyone $400 for 8 students up front. Again, if you ended up with less than 8 over the course of the season, that's okay. We wouldn't take any of that money back. But if you get to more than 8 students who are engaged, and thank you, Cullen, for participating, we appreciate it. If you get to more than 8, we add money to your team budget. Also, if you want to spend money on your budget on a big order early in the season, we help project that in advance. So even if nobody has come to 20 hours of programming yet, which can't really happen till the middle of the season anyway, if you have a lot of students showing up to practice and tournaments regularly, we will project out and give you that money in your team budget in advance. So if you're like, I want to do a sweatshirt order right away, I've had a bunch of kids regularly coming to practice, maybe after the first tournament, the first time they come to an event, then we'll say, all right, let's do that sweatshirt order to get them excited about coming back to tournament 2, something like that. And we'll base it on the number of kids that have shown up, even if they're not engaged yet. Right. Okay, let's see. All right. Last thing I want to cover in this section, then I'm going to turn it back over to Douglas. All of these major coach responsibilities can seem a little bit overwhelming. You're probably not a full-time debate coach. You're probably a full-time teacher or a full-time something, college student perhaps. So you have a lot of other responsibilities other than being a debate coach. That is where your program manager comes in. Douglas, myself, Josh, Rayner, we want to fill in the gaps for you and your team, right? So if you don't have as much time as you'd like to plan practices, if you need a little bit of help running practices, if you need help with that sweatshirt order, if you just want to ask us questions about registering for an event or figuring out who's going to chaperone a tournament or debate academy for you, all those things your program manager is there to help you with. And like I said before, there is no such thing as asking us too many questions. It's our whole job is working for the Boston Debate League, and we're here to help you 100%. And I will also add one more time, we do work with a bunch of schools. So if you don't hear back from us as quickly as you would like, just please don't feel bad about bugging us again. Like I said, it is our job to be responsive to you. If we miss a text or an email, please just send it again. We will not hold it against you at all. My favorite coaches are the ones that ask me the most questions because I know that they're actively coaching and I feel confident that good things are happening in their schools. No such thing as too small of a question. If you're like, I totally forget what the difference is between affirmative and negative, or I have no idea how to teach rebuttals in a practice, like there's no such thing as too small a question. We're glad to help it out. Even if it's like, when does this thing start? Or can you help me find this link? Please, please, please ask us. To that point, our program managers are listed here. So for Douglas, we have Binka, Brighton, Chelsea, English, Everett, Fenway, Muniz, and New Mission high school team. For Josh, Brook East Boston, Cash, Dearborn, JQ, Kenny, Neighborhood, House, middle school team. Somerville and Tobin. For Rayner, Brighton, middle school. East Somerville, Elliott, English, middle school. Higginson, Lewis, Kennedy, New Mission, middle school. And Ruth Batson Academy, high school and middle school. And then I have everyone else. It seems like a longer list, but I don't have too many combined teams. Boston Collegiate, BGA, BLA, Boys and Girls Club, Brook, Roslindale, Charlestown, Codman, EMK, Linden, Maryline, Neighborhood House High School, O'Brien, and any sort of non-partner guest schools who attend tournaments as well. If you don't see your school listed up here, I'm your contact until I tell you otherwise. And so again, please reach out to us whenever you have questions about anything. Awesome. Okay. I'm just gonna jump right to the end on that. Awesome. how's everyone doing? Can I get would people prefer like a 1-minute break or just keep rolling along?
Roger, could I ask a quick question about
Yes.
just logistics related to the tournaments?
Sure.
Is the onus on kids to get there themselves? Are there buses? Is it our responsibility to figure that piece out?
So a combination. It is the coach's general responsibility to help the students figure out how they're getting there. And you should work with your program manager who can help like the specific situation for your school. For the Friday portions of middle school tournaments, since you're a middle school coach, we do offer buses for a lot of the middle schools going both from the school to the tournament and then back to the school afterwards. We don't offer it for any of the high school events or for the Saturday portions of the middle school tournaments, since a lot of students are coming from, not as centralized place as their school. So only on the Fridays for middle school do we offer buses. Everything else, though, we're glad to help. We do offer T-passes to anyone who needs it. We can provide as many as you need for your students for the whole season. Just let us know. And if you need help like arranging parent carpools, if you are just generally trying to figure out the organizational thing of how to get all your students there and want to talk about transportation to and from tournaments, please let us know. We can help you create a plan together. We've certainly done it with coaches before. Yeah.
Thank you.